everyone, and welcome to the Vice President Debate Breakdown with Joleen and Nana. I'm Joleen, and that's Nana. As you can see, we are very nonpartisan. We're very open. Nana, I like your mask.
I'm not.
When did you get it?
Thank you. I got to take it off, though. I just had to show it off. Dad and I went down to DFL headquarters here in St. Paul, and we had to rebuy our signs for Biden-Harris because ours were stolen.
Oh, that's nice. And that's like something that's happening a lot in Minnesota, right?
I think it happens all over. And I'm not just saying that they're taking Biden signs. I'm sure that, on the other end, they're taking some Trump signs too,
What do you think?
That's just what happens in an election. And it's a shame. But I got some more buttons, and I got to talk to Ken down there, and he is Jenny's husband, ahead of the DFL, and that was very nice to see him.
So Jenny is the head of the DFL. Nobody knows her, but that's in Minnesota.
No, Ken is. Ken is, and Jen O'Rourke, who I used to work with, that's her husband. So I just had to stick my head in and say hi to him. And Dad was just roaring today with these new signs. He says, if they're going to steal my signs, I'm just going to buy bigger signs, which he did.
Yeah, he said, when they go stealing, I buy bigger or something.
That's right. I know.
That's his deviation or own interpretation, I guess I should say, of the Michelle Obama quote. Okay. Welcome, everyone joining us. We got 63 of you. Please give this a thumbs up. If this is your first time on my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe. We are going to be breaking down everything that happened at the vice presidential debate. Nana and I, if you don't know us, we're just American ladies like you. She's in Minnesota. I'm in California. We definitely lean more toward the left. Nana would be a liberal. I consider myself a progressive. We are going to tell you what we thought, what we saw, and you are welcome to put what you saw, and we can all still be friends. I hope. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that's just it. A lot of people have lost family members. A lot of people have lost good friends over this election. This just is, it gets right to your heart, this one, because there's so many things going on. So many things. There's Katie. Hi, Katie.
Yes, we have
Minnesota.
Our sweet Katie in the chat. Hello, Katie Gasper. Okay, Tammy's here. Lots of good people here. Super chat's a great way to support the channel, you guys, if you can. Links also in the description of this video to Patreon, PayPal, all that stuff. All right. So first things first, Nana, did you see this? Are you ready? Are you ready, Nana? We're going to do a little screen share.
All right. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. We'll do share and the fly.
I know. I mean, really, stop the insanity. I know. Some people are saying, flies kind of gravitate to a piece of poop. SHIT. And I don't want to call names. That anyone can do that. But it was kind of funny because he's got that shocking white hair, and all of a sudden, there it is. There's the fly.
And he has pink eye, allegedly, maybe. So, and that involves doo-doo brown too. So,
and the pink eye, they said right afterwards that is a form of some 10 to 30% of the people that have COVID get that.
Well, here's the deal. Pence allegedly, according to him, that's all we know, he tested negative for COVID. As we've seen from the recent events, there was a super spreader, which was brought up during the debate event in the Rose Garden. And Kellyanne Conway, I mean, anyone in that administration, whatever, was there, and it was regarding the Supreme Court nomination. And if you watched that, this is what we'll get to as we break down what they were talking about. I did take some notes and things. This is what I wish they would have hit on more, is that super spreader event. I feel like they just let it go, and I feel like I would have liked to see. They kind of skimmed
over that, didn't they?
Yeah, I would have liked to see Trump have to speak for this administration, because I think the number one thing Americans in general, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green Party, whatever, we've all had to suffer with not being able to hug, kiss, hold, be with our family and loved ones. And yet these people are just colleagues, and they're kissing, hugging, doing everything in between. And so an average American, which I think Nana and I try to speak to, whatever an average American is, that what we struggle with is the fact that they just so, they just show no regard, which was brought up during the debate as well. How are the American people going to do the things that our scientists and doctors are saying need to be done, whether it be social distancing, wearing masks, things like that, quarantine, if our elected officials can't do that? So if they see, it's kind of like when you send your kids to school, if the teacher's like off going F this, F that, how do you expect the kids not to do that, pick up these bad habits? And so I wish that both the moderator and Kamala Harris would have held Mike Pence's feet to the fire on this one to really explain this event and why were there not masks and why were people hugging and kissing. And there's videos that have come out since of people who were there. And these people, I mean, they're coworkers and they're literally like kissing, hugging so close. And we know 210,000, just like Kamala Harris brought up multiple times, dead people suffering. I mean, I live in a state where we're not done quarantining yet. And
California is smart that way. That they're smart that way. We are supposed to be in somewhat of a quarantine. I thought the pandemic's still going on. Certainly your dad and I have been really good about it. And the only time we're going out really is to go to Menards, get something. He does the grocery shopping.
And you wear masks and you wear gloves and you hand sanitize. But these people are talking this close to each other. They're all going home to their families, to different areas. I mean, this is a super spreader event. You saw it when Trump went to Minnesota, the travel. And now, so many people have been affected. And we also have seen there's just still so much not known about this pandemic and about this virus. And now we're learning it mutates. And we're also learning that you can get false positives and false negatives. So is Pence really negative if he's suffering from these things and the fly is on him?
And I know that I'm sorry, but that really is the best. And Lady Di is saying he should be in isolation right now, according to public health docs. Yeah. And you are right. We had 34 cases in the White House. 34.
That's huge.
That's huge.
That's huge. And it's just, I really felt overall, let's get overall thoughts. Nana, I'm going to go to you first because I don't want to taint any, not that I would, because we both have our own views on things.
We have our own thoughts, right?
Overall, I would like to just break it down shortly, kind of issue by issue and what they kind of said, because I tried to take notes.
You took better notes.
Well,
I didn't. But I was watching from my heart, and then I get real hyper about it. So I got the bucket out with Dawn soap and 2 rags and started washing the kitchen floor and turned it up even higher.
You just got to stay busy. Yeah. You want to multitask during it because it can be frustrating just sitting there watching it, or it can cause people anxiety. I can see why you do that. I would like to get your overall thoughts on how you think each candidate did and why you think that, Nana.
Well, Kamala Harris, she came out looking confident and I don't want to be sexist about it, but she looked stunning to me, confident. She just knew her stuff. She didn't let Pence get the better of her, I don't think, throughout this. She sat back, she looked at the camera, she'd look over at him. Some of the looks she gave him were pretty funny. Yeah. I just think that she really overall held it together. I would have been so proud if I was her. And I'm so proud of her that another check is going in the mail tomorrow. So anyway. Well, you know what? I mean,
so do you think Kamala Harris won this debate?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
What do you think set her apart to win this debate over Pence, other than you subjectively liking her more? I'm sorry, you guys, I got to wipe my eyes. I do have allergies right now.
You don't have pink eye, do you? Bring in the fly. Bring in the fly.
Well, me and Pence were making out. No, we weren't making out, you guys. He cannot be alone in a room with a woman without his wife. So, and I wouldn't do that because I'm married and he's married, and he's not my type. Okay. So, what besides your subjectively liking Biden and Harris more made you feel like she won over Pence in this debate?
what overall? Okay, how's this? The way she got off the plane and jumped into the limo. Did you see that on Facebook? It was on the news too. She just gingerly jumped down those steps and waved to everybody and got in the limo. I love that. Mm-hmm. It shows youth. It shows something that we need. We need young minds in there, younger minds than our, 74-year-old and 78-year-old. Yeah. I love to see that. I didn't like the idea that he kept trying to go longer. She kept right to the 2 minutes. I don't know if she had a stopwatch there, but she was just, did she? She was beautiful
I'm saying she kept it to the time more than he did.
I thought maybe you saw her. No. Okay, I'm done. Because she
did go over a few times, but compared to him, she stayed by it a lot more.
She stayed right to it. She spoke to the question. That's more than, he seemed like he was back to questions. Always. And she just went to the question and had something good to say about her team, Biden-Harris. I really think that she, overall, she just had a vice presidential stance about her. And I loved it. I'm so glad I got my kitchen floor washed too.
Well, good, Nana. I like that. Okay, so Nana saying that Kamala Harris won the debate. I disagree. I do not believe she won the debate. I subjectively prefer Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Obviously, I'm going to vote for them. I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump and Mike Pence. But I think this was kind of a misstep, but I do think there's reasons for it, okay? So hear me out. I think Mike Pence is known to go in and be very dry in his delivery, and he dodged a lot of questions. He was a very slippery. Chell kept calling him Slippery Pence, So he went in, and there were so many questions and so many things, and that's why he was multiple questions behind, because he was addressing other subjects. He also was, speaking over her and things like that. And there were so many times I felt as a prosecutor, and we've seen Kamala Harris do this before in the Democratic nominee debates. We've seen her go head to head with Joe Biden. We've seen her, that prosecutor in her, come out. But this was a very reserved Kamala Harris. And so I wanted, the few times she didn't directly address a question, and he wanted her to, he said, I would like the record to show she did not address that question. I would like the record to show. And that's a very important thing to do, because again, a lot of these campaigns, and the Trump campaign in general, is a lot of propaganda. I mean, the Democrats use a lot of propaganda as well. But the more times you hear that, that's what people will remember and believe. So I think as far as that went, he kind of called her out more, where she let it lie. Now, here's why I think she did it. I think she was most likely told by Biden's campaign. She's the VP, so they got to kind of go with, because what's happening right now is Trump is like 15 points behind or some stuff. Polls are showing his numbers very bad. However, we did see this in 2016 with Hillary, and he can still not win the popular vote by a lot and still win the electoral vote. So we have to be very careful with our polls and things like that. So here's why
that bothers me, those polls. Okay.
Yes. So here's why I think she didn't go at him. I wanted, as someone who is very anti-Trump, anti-Pence and their administration, I wanted her to take him to task on these issues and these things that he didn't address. I wanted his feet to be held to the fire about COVID. I wanted the super spreader event, more things, the vaccine lying, the discrepancy between him saying, within a year or something, or within the end of the year, and Trump saying within a couple weeks. I want more of that to be called out, because as Americans, regardless of party, we deserve to know answers. So, but I think they said, don't do that. I think they said, remain calm, because she has things working against her. So as a woman of color, in this race, as a Black woman, I think if she does come off too aggressive, it is very easy for anyone undecided or in between or that side to call her out as an aggressive Black woman. So I think that's something they were looking at. And right now, Biden's not really doing much. Trump has been sinking his own ship, and even Republicans in his own party have called him out and saying, like, what, like last with the tweets and everything about not being in talks anymore for a package for COVID and for Americans and things like that, and any more stimulus conversations, because he believes that Nancy Pelosi is doing some dirty deals. Now, granted, I'm sure Nancy's got some stuff in there that's not good, but why not challenge her on that? Why would you just give up on the people? And then we saw the stock market take a hit because of that. So then his true interests, which are the CEOs and the business people, hit him up and say, you got to do something. So then he tweets, oh no, I'm going to do the stimulus. I'm going to give a stimulus check. Nancy, you better get working, with no intention of doing it, because his staff then confirms, no, he's not talking about it. We are not talking about that till after the election, even though they want to talk about a Supreme Court justice. So I wanted more push on that. So I think what Biden probably told Kamala and what she was advised to do is to kind of, stay pretty calm and not challenge him too much, because they have more to lose, because they're up. Biden really hasn't had to do much, because Trump keeps digging hole after hole after hole for himself in this campaign. So that's probably why we didn't see that. But as a voter, as an American, I wanted to see Pence finally. Don't give us these answers that he does, like, well, Trump did. No, Pence, especially as like a faith-driven man and someone who says he prides himself on, the honesty and values and morality. This dude is saying some messed up stuff and going back and forth. I want to know how you can agree with that, how you cannot condemn some of these things and you still be able to look in the mirror. Like, I want her to hit him with it.
Well,
and she didn't.
I love your points. I love the points that you brought up. But what she brought up, which I loved, was about the veterans and what Trump thought of the veterans as suckers and losers. And she said it straight out, after he's tap dancing around saying, no, we care about our vets. We do this, we do that. And she brought up different points that he was at Arlington Cemetery and just didn't seem to care. He wasn't present at the moment.
Yeah, he never is. I mean, it was good that she did. I liked a lot of the things she did. I'm not saying, you guys, and I know, I just want to look at it from an American, from a voter, from someone who I want to look at it not just because I'm going to vote for them. I want to look at who actually, he dodged so much, and it is her job, the moderator's job, if the moderator's not hitting it, it is her job then to go back and say, I want the record to show you did not answer that. I want this to show you did not answer that, because otherwise, I think a lot of people who might not follow these things as closely are going to believe he answered things, and he didn't answer so many of the questions.
Well, he kept going with the same old rhetoric. And when they were talking about COVID, and when he brought up 2009, swine flu. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Well, he kept saying to her this one thing. He kept saying, even though it's your opinion, that you have to remember something. I wrote it down on my phone here, but it was something about just because you believe it to be so doesn't make it facts. No, sir. You, in the same regard, can use that against you, because when Pence comes back with these answers, they're all speculative. We don't know what would have happened with swine flu. We don't know if it was more contagious. What you're speculating. We do know what happened with COVID-19 and what continues to happen with COVID-19, and it's a travesty. You should be ashamed to be in office and to lose this many people and then not want to help people. We have what were they saying? We have there's 11 million jobs as of January, I believe. They're just not coming back. They're completely not coming back. That's have large markets and different professions that by no fault of their own cannot work. People cannot work. Your unemployment rate is crazy. Your recession is hitting us Americans, us middle-class Americans, while all your big donors and stuff, they're not affected by this. They're not affected in the least.
And when, Michelle brings this up, Michelle Roman, I think she did well. She says, Pence made a lot of false statements. All he could say was he's going to raise taxes on day one, and kept saying that Biden's going to do that. Well, in fact, he is, but only for the people that are making $400,000 more per year.
Isn't it funny how they leave that out?
Is there anyone on this podcast that's making that kind of money? And if you are, subscribe and hit us up with some. Anyway,
listen, if you're making almost $500,000 a year and your taxes go up, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. The economic
fine.
The economic discrepancy in this country, I think, is one of the biggest problems as to why we are where we are. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Things don't trickle down. The middle pays for it all. And we're not, holding these big corporations and things to pay their taxes. And so it's very important to remember they're saying $400,000 or more a year. So you with $50,000, you with $25,000 a year, you over here, even if you got $399,000 a year, you're good. Nothing's going to break.
You're good. And Hayden Bailey saying you're entitled to your own opinion, not your own
That's what
facts.
he kept saying to Kamala. And it's like, it's such the Trump machine, which is a propaganda game. It's a propaganda machine. It's very much, they just spit this stuff out and then they say it enough times and people start believing it rather than going with, that's why they go against these organizations that collect data, science, things like that, because there are actual facts and proof. And then they can't
believe in it. Yes.
Turn that into propaganda. Also, I wish Kamala would have said, we need to say to this side of the aisle that does not believe in climate change and won't say climate change. We need to say, why don't you say climate change? So when the climate change question came up, he pretty much dodged it. So basically what happened was the moderator indicated that there's record-setting hurricanes, wildfires. Do you believe that man-made climate change has caused this? Pence immediately talks about their record on the environment and that air and land are cleaner than ever. Well, by whose standards? Who is judging this? Because by what we've all seen and what we live, and I live in California near the wildfires, and year after year, and the air quality, I don't know what air you're talking about. And as far as clean water goes, I would say a majority of Americans would say, where did you get these facts? So he basically says the climate is changing. But the issue is, what's the cause and what do we do about it? What do you mean, what's the cause? If I was Kamala Harris, I would say 98 or whatever. I know there's a certain, 95% of scientists are in agreement that it is climate change and global warming causing this. So what do you mean? So he dances around. It's a slippery thing where it's like, well, the climate's changing. Well, wouldn't that be climate change, Mike? But without saying
it. Talk to Flint, Michigan about that clean water issue. She could have come back with something like that. I think being on the spot like that, and like you said, being a woman of color and also a woman.
Well, they're going down worried about the Hillary route, maybe, because but I do think this performance reminded me a little bit of Hillary, where people aren't going to pick up on your subtle, okay. What, you know what I mean? Like the looks, you have to say it out loud. When Trump and Hillary debated in 2016, she just assumed people would be like, this guy's crazy, right? You guys all see this, right? And we thought, because we're a year ago or 4 years ago today, right? 4 years ago today was the Billy Bush grab him by the pussy thing. And we thought, this guy's done.
Oh,
He's
was
done.
it?
And oh no, he flipped the script and turned it on her.
Was it really 4 years ago today?
I think it's 4 years today. Yeah, today or tomorrow.
4 years ago today, I retired October 7th. So I should remember that. And nobody was grabbing anything of mine. So anyway.
Thankfully, no one was grabbing anything. But yeah, I would have liked to hear.
You wanted her to go a little harder, didn't you?
A little harder. She's a prosecutor. We know what she's capable of, but I also do understand that she is directed by Biden, and right now they're sitting in a pretty good spot. So if she would have, who knows what people's interpretation of this would have been. But then Pence went on to talk about, he brought up the Green New Deal a lot. And here's the problem, Nana, with with bringing up the Green New Deal to someone who was an author on the Green New Deal with AOC. The problem is the Democrats have dug themselves in such a hole. Rather than going so much further extreme and progressive, and I shouldn't even say extreme, but further progressive like most Americans want them to, with climate change and the Green New Deal and fracking and all this stuff, they are resting somewhere in the middle with Joe Biden. So they can't truly tell the truth. So Kamala has to dance around that. Like, yeah, she helped author the Green New Deal, and but Joe Biden's not for the Green New Deal. So this is where I would say the Democratic Party has been failing us for, multiple presidential elections now. Is they're handing, there's been, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people who are progressives, corruption on that side when we're picking candidates. It's a very strange political thing, going back to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and there's almost like this expected, it's my turn to run, despite what the people want. The party thinks it knows better, and then they wonder, why aren't people excited about this candidate? Because that wasn't the candidate of the people. Biden was not the candidate bringing out the big groups and things like that. We need our base to be excited the same way Trump excites his base. For whatever reason, he does.
And he does.
Biden doesn't do that. So he sits very strangely in the middle and kind of more right than we would like. And right now, the problem is just get Trump out of office, because he's such a travesty. It's such a tragic event to watch this monstrous human be in office and say these awful things and not denounce racism and not take care of the people and lie and fake news and propaganda. So now we have to just get Biden in there. But knowing Biden is he's a neoliberal. He's, all about neoliberalism, and it's not really moving us in a progressive direction, but it's a little closer. Do you know what I mean? It's a little closer. So that's the problem, is that if we had a candidate who believed in the Green New Deal and other things that a lot of progressives and younger people who would identify probably as Democrat want their party to believe in, but they're doing it more for career politicians rather than truly what the people want to see. That's my opinion.
Are you thinking that Bernie would have been a better candidate?
Oh, 1,000 times. Bernie Sanders is a better human than Joe Biden, but this is where we're at. And I realize that. And so I'm not going to go in a route of, that's how it worked out. What has went down in our Democratic, when we're selecting our nominees, and that process is, it is very detrimental to Americans and the American voter and the progression of our society. And I want to go more that route. I do believe a lot of people want Medicare for all. I do believe a lot of people want
most definitely
college, be able to go to college. There's so many things that want they want real progress to be made when it comes to protecting our environment. And they know how serious climate change is. And I think a lot of Americans, whether they were for Bernie or not, want big business and corporations out of our politics. These politicians work for us. Our tax dollars pay them. They work for us the same way our police work for us. So they have to be working for us. And unfortunately, we have yet to be able to get rid of these super PACs and things like that, because both parties benefit from that, but the people don't benefit from a super PAC.
No, they don't. I just think that we need to, I would have been real happy with Bernie. But what we have now,
we have to pick from the least.
But Biden Harris, I think they're strong. She did mention, the moderator did mention, have you talked to the president if something would happen? Because they are older. If something would happen, the progression, and would you take over and things like that? And he kind of danced around that too. She answered it a little better, just saying that her and Joe sit down and they talk about politics all the time and things. But he kind of danced around it because at the time when he was taken to the hospital, and we know he was on oxygen, we know he was, maybe, and taking steroids now, maybe that was the time that he should have given the power to Pence. And there was nothing there. They did not do that. I don't think there's anything in place. And for him to come out, and I thought he was going to come out better as far as meeting Trump, to say, okay, this is serious. This virus is serious.
Oh, you thought Pence would?
Well, no, I mean, I thought Trump would. And then instead he's taken off his mask and making a big show of it, saying it's just like the flu. He just set us back some more. We aren't going to get out of this. We need real leadership. And I think we'll find that real leadership with Biden-Harris.
Yes, you're going to find better leadership. Definitely, and it's going to lead us in a better direction than we are now. Bernie Sanders had an interesting tweet about Trump's behavior after being in the hospital and things like that, and his behavior after denying to talk any longer about packages, relief packages and things for Americans with, when we're dealing with COVID-19. I mean, we got one stimulus, $1,200 back in April. And then they were like, you guys good? Okay, bye. And then nothing else. And people have lost their jobs. They lost their insurance.
Can't make rent. Can't make rent. Come on.
It's horrible. So Bernie Sanders said, after receiving the best socialized health care in the world, Trump just said no to providing any relief to the unemployed, the uninsured, or the hungry. But he's still pushing the Senate to confirm a Supreme Court nominee who will strip health care from 20 million. How pathetic. And I think that sums it up perfectly. Of course,
he's got round the clock care at the White House.
And the level of care he gets, anything. It's open to anything he wants. He could try experimental things. If he wanted to drink the bleach, well, they probably would stop him. But if he wanted to inject himself with whatever, they would probably try it, So he is getting a different kind of care than any of us regular Americans.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And getting shot up with steroids makes you feel invincible. That's why roid heads are super scary. And I feel better than 20 years ago, bro. That's not the message you want to be sending out about Corona, because then you think of all the people who have caught it and all the people who have lost loved ones and didn't even get to say goodbye to them. What do you think that says to them? I mean, that's disgusting. Thank you, Chris Tort, for the super chat. Chris said, I did not envy Kamala tonight having to debate a snake. This debate was unfortunately a wash, but I don't see it affecting the vote. Thank goodness. I don't see it affecting the vote either. Nana?
Right now, people know who they're going to vote for.
Not everyone know. There's some weirdos that
I don't agree. I don't agree. They know who they're voting for. I can't see anybody still on the fence at this late date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just can't.
4 million people have already voted. I mean, it's something to.
Dad and I have already voted.
Mm-hmm. And Chell and I got our ballots in the mail. We got a notification that they're coming. So
okay, good. Yeah. And the idea that they even brought up how fraudulent mail-in voting is. Our president does mail-in voting. Mail-in voting has been going on for a long time. There is nothing fraudulent about it. It's funny that the fraud that they found was in his home state of Florida, Trump's. So, well, whatever. So I just really think that we got a lot more information out of this one than we did the last one.
We were able to.
The last one was theatrics more than anything.
It was tantrums and ego, which is too bad. I do think Pence dodged, like you said, he did dodge the question about, Trump being going to be the oldest president, right? Is that what he was saying? Yes. What the moderator, Susan, was saying. But the thing with Trump is Pence can't comment on that because Trump's whole persona is to be invincible, to be so strong and never show weakness or fear. He truly believes he's giving that off when really a lot of that comes off as a false confidence, straight up ignorance or lying. But that's what his people have grown to know or like about him. They feel like he has a killer instinct, which is good for your serial killers, but not necessarily your president. And now, no, I don't think he has a killer instinct, and I don't think he's as strong as he says he is, because I would say check the records and the bone spurs and the dodging of any kind of military service or things like that. And then to, like Nana said, speak so ill of our veterans. And they brought up the John McCain. They also brought up that Cindy McCain, Colin Powell, and like 9 other, I think maybe Republicans have spoken out and are going to go with Biden. So that's kind of, I think, what the Democrats, they, you know, when they had this idea that Biden was going to be the candidate, even though Bernie and, you know, the progressive movement was really knocking down their Democratic walls, they just, you know, if they feel as though if you didn't play by the rules and we can't fully control you, then we don't want to, because they don't want to truly change. They thought Biden
kind of understand that. I kind of understand that. You want to have some control. I think a lot of people, especially my age, maybe I'm wrong, loved Bernie, but thought he was giving too much away, giving the store away. So I think Biden was more of a moderate, if you will.
Well, he's not going to give you much. Let's be clear. He's not. He's not.
Well, you know, when
the pantry's empty, he's not.
They're going to beef up the Affordable Care Act. They're going to beef it up, and they're going to also include your own private insurances. This is what they're going to try. They are going to get a handle on this COVID, so the country, not just the ones that are still out there partying and still out there doing things like this isn't happening. They're going to, you know, kind of get it together and do a mask mandate, federally mask mandate. I think these are the important things that we need at this time. We need direction. We don't need
unity when it comes to what to do during a pandemic. You can't have some states and some representatives saying, no, we're good, everything's fine. We want to open back up, because that's where, you know, Republicans and libertarians want to go, despite the fact that we don't have vaccines and things like that. And I think what you're saying here in the comment is Biden would be the oldest. Yes, of course, he's older than Trump. But I'm saying Susan said to Mike Pence that once, if Trump was elected again, he would technically be the oldest standing president. Now, there's, you know, since he would be the oldest, there's the possibility that he could pass or could get sick and, you know, got coronavirus. So Mike Pence, have you talked about it? What would be your plan to kind of take over? So that's what I'm saying. So when you say you're not making sense, that's making
because Trump is
sense.
74, Biden 78. Yes, we did catch that. And the idea that we had Biden's son in the military. And I guess I wasn't sure about this.
Well, here's the thing. Neither, as far as I would say, the difference between the two with the Biden, when you're saying draft dodging, and Trump, is that you have one candidate who speaks ill of veterans and says horrific things like he's not a war hero because he was caught. Now, I'm not a big McCain fan at all. But I think that coming from a president, that isn't something you say.
No. Oh my God.
You yourself weren't brave enough to serve. So a lot of families look at that like a slap in the face.
Most
definitely.
And
I think there's no reason to protect Trump when it comes to this issue, because he's wrong. And I just find it, I find it weird that people want to come back and say, well, Biden did this also. It's like, but the way Trump is behaving toward the military as well, and the things he says, and him going against his own agencies and things like that, and believing, you know, Putin and over, you know, our own agencies within this country, I think speaks volumes. So that's where we're at there. Okay, let's go through this. Okay, so the first one was obviously the contact tracing, COVID-19. Kamala talked about contact tracing, free vaccine. They were talking about COVID. And she said this administration has failed. 210,000 Americans lost. Pence is the head of the COVID-19 task force. I mean, he should be very. How can you be happy with so many lives lost, and also with no real direction in where we're going as a country? And then you have a guy up there saying, yeah, Joe Biden wears these huge masks, and you see him, his mask get bigger and bigger, when we know from our professionals and our doctors that masks help lessen the spread. Social distancing helps.
Definitely. Helps. What did you think about 12 feet apart? I really like that. I like the plexiglass idea. I like that. Tonight's.
Well, I think they had to. I mean, last debate was a hot mess. Trump dodged the COVID test. His family came and refused to wear masks. I mean, here's the thing. It's like, basically, I think they clocked it. I'm like, I think they have it at like 85% of Americans don't want to make mass a political issue. If the doctors and the health professionals say it helps, let's go with it. Why Trump is so anti-mask for the small percentage of people out there who are like, you're not telling me what to do, makes no sense for him at this time. There has been other more populist Republicans who have spoken out and been like, if you're for the populists, like, you should most likely not want to die on that hill. That's a dumb hill to die on. This whole mask thing and not having a mask mandate and going, how's your mask mandate wearing for you? With this many people dead and sick and our economy shut down to the point of people are not working.
Sure. I thought for sure that he was going to come out of this being positive for COVID, that he was going to come out of this, silly me, a little humbler and understanding how deadly this is.
No, but because he's going to say exactly what he's saying. Like, I'm so tough. Look at me. I beat COVID. He's very much same. They compare him a lot to the leader of Brazil and how he reacted when he got over COVID. And I think he's like 10 years Trump's junior. And he was like, I'm invincible sort of thing. So it's similar to that. When they run on this, I'm not weak, I'm so strong. And that is what I'm running on. That is my persona to my supporters. Then that's what he has to keep up. So there's just, he doesn't want to show any vulnerability. And I think there's something so important for leaders to show vulnerability so that the American people can see themselves represented in their leader.
Well, what's wrong with me that I really thought he was going to come to be a nicer human being after this? Like, this was a wake-up call for him. And he didn't do it. He's a narcissist. He would never. Yeah, Monica, you're right. But I really thought that he was going to come out of this going, hey, this is real. This is not a hoax.
He can't, Nana, because he held this information we know now since January, knowing how deadly and how contagious it was. And he held this information and it's not effective leadership. Even if you support him, how he handled this pandemic is not effective leadership. Why hold off on it? How does that, if someone can explain to me how that benefits the American people, that he did not, knowing this, do anything to try to prevent, help us, get us ready, why he lied and why he pretended that he didn't know when he did know. How does that help us Americans? Now, Claude is saying, do you remember Dr. Fauci said, we did not need a mask and then switch. We need a mask. Now, a lot of people on the other side love this argument. They die on this. I have friends who are in the middle and they say, well, Dr. Fauci, there was so much in the beginning we did not know. We did not know.
Yes.
So
people were grasping.
For him to say, everyone has to have a mask before we knew there was a mask would be disingenuous. It would be, he wouldn't be telling the truth. Now, here's the difference between a Fauci and a Trump. When he finds out that they do in fact help, he's able to come forward and go, you know what, we just learned this about masks, so let's move forward and be healthy with masks. They did not know the contagion that it was spread this easily. We also, if you want to use that argument, we also did not know that people could get it a second time. We were believing that you built up antibodies and that you could be immune. And now we know that's wrong. So with progress and with science never, that's why there's always tests and things, because we're always learning new things. So we have to progress. It's called progression, And so for us to just sit on one thing Dr. Fauci said after all the work he's done, I think is just irresponsible. And it just is, you're trying to win an argument. You're trying to be right. But why want to be right in that situation when we now know that masks are helping slow the spread so greatly? No one expected Dr. Fauci to know everything. He himself, unlike Trump, has never said he knows everything. He knows from testing and from science. And what we know, you can have a hypothesis and then you can be disproven of that. So allow our scientists and our medical professionals to learn about this brand new virus. I would rather someone come in and say, you know what, actually after testing and trial, we found out that masks work, so let's go forward. Then someone go, I can't be wrong, my ego. But as Americans, we're now trained and conditioned to believe that our leaders need to stick with what they're saying all the time, and there's no kind of progress that can be had. So even when they're wrong, their ego doesn't allow them to then correct themselves for the betterment of the people. So I think that is just, I don't like when people use that, Claude, as an excuse. Dr. Fauci has corrected himself. He has done so much work in the administration that has done nothing but try to shut him down and make him look cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But he has really done a lot for this country and to help the people with zero partisan reasoning, zero reasoning to make money or things like that. I see all these cuckoo theories out there about that. But if anyone's looking to benefit from this, it would be the people in the administration who, for some reason, just are saying, no,
we're not going to do this. The idea that Dr. Fauci was having death threats, his family was having death threats because they didn't like what he had to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible. How disgusting. Bill
and Boogie, Fauci was also worried we'd hoard masks. So at the time, there were certain masks that were supposed to be just for health professionals, and people were starting to hoard them. We saw a lot of things, price gouging on Amazon, a lot of gross things were happening that Americans were taking part in, unfortunately. So I think there was that. There was a lot of things that played into that one little comment. But you guys, we're so far from that now. We know so much more about this pandemic. Not enough yet, but we know so much.
But yes.
We cannot live in the past in this one. I know if he's, we have to move forward. We really have to move forward with that. So, okay. So going back to this first thing, Nana, she was saying Pence then was the first to interrupt within the debate. I marked that. And then that's when Kamala started with, I'm speaking, Mr. Vice President. And then she was saying, you respect the American people when you tell them the truth. And that, the Trump administration sat on information. People had to sacrifice too much because of incompetence of this administration. Pence went on to talk about, the death toll, 200K, or they were saying the death toll was 200K, 2 times more deaths than Canada and other wealthy countries. Now, this is something that is ridiculous for the United States, who has touted itself as the best country, nation, government in the world, to be sitting here with 2 times more deaths than Canada and other wealthy countries. Donald Trump, he went on then to say, Donald Trump put health of the Americans first. Because he suspended China travel. So it's again that propaganda of China. You knew, sir, no matter where it started, you knew far before, and you knew how serious it was, and you sat on it.
You knew in January. It didn't come out till March.
Mm-hmm.
You knew in January. Do you know how many lives that could have been saved? We do know. I just believe that the Biden-Harris ticket is the way to go. I think Kamala did a wonderful job tonight, and I think Pence is would be a sorry leader.
Well, here's the thing. We've already seen him lead, and there's no leadership. So I don't know, when you see all these ads that Donald Trump is putting, like in Biden's America, those are direct pictures of Trump's current America. When people say Trump will get us out of this, how can Trump get us out of what he got us into? You guys, he's had 4 years. 4 years. And here's where we're at. Okay. So then quickly he went on to talk about, how, he vaccines by the end of the year. But your boss, Donald Trump, is saying vaccines within weeks. So I don't know. And where are you getting these? And then he said that the Biden-Harris plan looked plagiarized, which, okay, their plan for COVID-19. And Joe Biden knows about plagiarism. He brought into that, so he's given little dig there. Pence thinks of. He said he was thinking about the dead people, just like, because they kept bringing up the turn 10. He's like, I think about those people. I'm sure they really appreciate you thinking about them. Can you do something? Can you get us back on a trajectory, on a path where we can be like, listen to other countries, where we can be not denouncing the WHO and scientists and things like that? That would help us a lot more than you feeling sorry for the dead people, Pence. Pence has a way of like removing himself from it when you are the head of the task force. The super spreader event, Pence was in the front row, he said. The work of the president, he says, must go on. But that doesn't need to go on, though.
That didn't need to go on at all.
Well, because that was a example was made with Abraham Lincoln, the Abraham Lincoln example, whereas he was leaving office, they needed to replace a Supreme Court justice, and he said the people should decide. And so even though he was about to be out of office, and he could have threw someone in there because they were talking about loading the court up. And that's essentially what Trump is doing. So this, I would say the Supreme Court justice is not something that most people on both sides are concerned about more than they are about COVID-19, about the economy, about not having jobs, about no other stimulus package, no other help, no other relief for people.
Do you feel, excuse me, Joe, do you feel that this stimulus package is kind of like another carrot just waving in front of the American people, saying, vote for me, and then here comes your stimulus package? Mm-hmm. We can't be bought with that.
But that's what he's trying to do. And we've seen it with this administration, and it's, we've seen it in other administrations, but we've seen it very blatantly. He's essentially tempting you, trying to buy your vote with that.
Buy a vote.
People don't have 28 whatever days to wait on this. You need to help people now. We are going on our 7th, 8th month, and you're going to say, wait. Yes. And that just shows how far the people who affect your campaign, your donors, are not affected. Because if his donors were affected,
we'd be moving on it. We'd be moving
doing
on it.
Something. We would definitely be doing something.
No, I think what they should have played in the background here is this old country song. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden. I was just thinking about that song. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who sang it. Tammy Wynette. I'm not sure. Anybody know who sang that song? I guess, I enjoyed tonight. I enjoyed listening to it. I enjoyed washing my floor, turning up the volume. I ran back in when I.
Oh, Nana,
I ran back in time to see The Fly. That's all I was excited about. So,
yeah, that's exactly right, Bill and Boogie. Trump said no stimulus package until after the election, and then the stock market went down, so he changed his mind. But then, people who work for him said, no, actually, no, he's not going to talk about it. He's not going to talk about it. He's now putting it on Pelosi, but he's not. And also when it comes to like not negotiating and things, I think Trump really does think he's a dictator and doesn't realize how the legislative branches actually work, and that you just don't get to dictate what happens. You don't get to write the law, sir. You know what I mean? That's why we have these branches in place, but it's like he doesn't understand that. So then he basically, Pence basically said what was wrong with this whole COVID-19 pandemic and the spreading and why we haven't got a grasp on it, why we haven't been able to control it, he was like, I believe the American people can make their own decisions. I believe whatever. And here's the thing. We can't all be on different pages. We're the United States of America. We need to unite in the fact that how are all these other countries getting it under control? And we are still so far off. Our numbers are still going up. We are still highly infected. We have the most dead. It just doesn't make any sense. Then we went on to the role of the VP, like we already talked about that. And then, he brought up the swine flu epidemic. And she talked about, getting the call from Biden that she was going to be the VP. Then we had...
I like that. I like that she brought that up and that she kind of got that in there.
Then we had the info for voters. Do they deserve to know, Nana, Trump's health? And Pence says, oh, well, thanks for your prayers. Doctors have been very transparent. They have not. Grateful and moved by the broad bipartisan support. Harris says, absolutely. Biden, they should be transparent, and that Biden was transparent on his health and taxes, where Donald Trump was not. To which we found out most recently that Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. Yet, people who are Team Trump want to say, well, that's not counting the taxes he paid for this or that. And it's like, he paid $750 income taxes. The guy has been in the hole for 15 years. And the only lucrative business he had that wasn't that lucrative that he's made a little bit of money on is Mar-a-Lago. And it definitely doesn't hurt that he's the president and still running Mar-a-Lago. So the guy's a business failure. And I don't see how people cannot his taxes. And he now is debating the IRS, saying they're lying. Those documents are wrong. So can I go now and say, hey, these taxes are wrong. I deserve more back. I paid too much. This isn't right. I feel like I paid more than this, so you should give me more back. You're starting such a slippery slope these last 4 years of just making shit up.
I know. And as American people, do we just say when it's tax time, oh, no, thanks. I don't want to pay that. I don't have to. I'm going to get myself just a slick attorney and a slick accountant, and I don't have to pay those taxes. Just think what would happen if we all felt like that. Just think of the money that we'd have in order to, oh my gosh, you need a new car. Let's pay cash. Okay.
And he's in debt, $450 million. This is not a good business, man. This is not a good, he starts businesses and then they fail. I think we're seeing a different Trump this election, Nana, and you can let me know what you think about this than we did in 2016. I think 2016, he was like, it was what Howard Stern said. It was, I think he wanted to use it as kind of a marketing ploy. I think Donald Trump knows how important it is to stay relevant. And, when he got Celebrity Apprentice, that, bumped him back up. And he was a little bit, I think, out of the red for a while.
Oh, yes.
But so he knows the importance of that. However, now, 4 years later, and in more and more debt and owing God knows who, like Kamala Harris was saying, I would love to know if he owes $450 million. This is owing money. Who does he owe it to? We should know as the American people who he owes this to know where his vested interests lie. It's the same thing with super PACs. It's the same thing with, people who, corporations that fund your campaign, because then we know if you follow the money where your vested interests lie. However, I think this election, so I think 2016, he was like, yeah, okay. It was kind of almost like he was trying to win, but also kind of trying to lose. But now in 2020, he knows he's going to have to pay people back. So he needs to win. He's going to say and do whatever because this guy
needs to stay in there. He needs to stay in there.
Nana, he's drowning in debt. Most people would, I don't know how they would survive with this kind of debt hanging over them.
How many times has he filed bankruptcy? And we look at that like that's the way to do it. Mm-hmm. This is what our fearless leader has done. I don't think Pence at the end was saying no, they feel like they're going to win this. And I say no. I say you're not going to win this. I hate looking at the polls. I think polls are kind of very distracting to most voters. Mm-hmm. I don't see the people on the fence this time. I see the people going this way or this way. That's it. There's no on the fence.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, I can't see all the comments. I'm trying to hear you guys. I gotta pull
okay.
up
Yeah,
YouTube ones too, because I think we're getting some trolls, but that's okay. That's what happens.
that's
And my
all
mods
right.
are taking care
Everybody,
of it.
and the joy of it is everybody has a right to their own opinion. These
Mhm.
are our opinions. We have a right to voice our opinion just as you do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's go on to the economy, Nana. So the unemployment rate, they said, declined to 7.9%. 11 million jobs from the beginning of the year haven't returned. Would raising taxes put recovery at risk? Harris said Joe Biden believes in health and strength of the American economy based on the people rather than the corporations. That's what she said. Do I believe that? No, I think Joe Biden has a lot of vested interest in corporations, but I think that this is true for both the Democratic and Republican Party. We need to get campaign finance reform, and we need to, this is something as people, we need to hold our elected officials, their feet to the fire on this one. And we have to really say, your interest needs to lie with us. And that's, if we didn't have, if we had caps on people running what they could actually spend and things like that, I think that would help. But it's gonna be difficult to get these big corporations out of politics. This is something Hillary Clinton battled with, because while she's saying she's going to take down Wall Street, she was being paid by Wall Street to speak and didn't want to divulge what she was saying. So of course that causes a distrust within the people when we're like, well, how are you going to protect us from Wall Street if you're on their payroll? And this has been true for Democrats and Republicans for so long, which is why we need more parties. And we just need, a lot of this stuff, we need to clean it up. It needs to be cleaned up. I don't know how we're going to get to that point, but we need to clean it up.
I hope within my time here on Earth, I hope we do see a third party, strong third party. I don't know if I have that kind of time left on Earth to see that, but I hope in your time and grandkids' time that they see a strong third party, because it's needed. It really is needed.
Mm-hmm. Third, fourth. We need more parties. We need more. You shouldn't have to be the richest person in the room to be able to run. We need to take these big money and these big donors out. It needs to be taken out. And that was something you saw the more progressive leaning Democrats and some independents saying as well. The more progressive independents saying, we want to take that out. Unfortunately, that's something that the DNC is not ready to hear. And then until they're ready to hear that, they're really going to hurt us, and it's going to hurt them because they need to set themselves apart more from the Republican Party in that sense. Okay, so Joe Biden will reverse. Trump created $2 million deficit from his tax cuts to the rich. Joe Biden will reverse that and invest in infrastructure. That's what Harris said. Joe believes in science, so we can be innovators again. Community college will be free for certain families, and student loan debt will be cut by $10,000. Pence said Trump tax cuts across the board. Average American families has $2,000 in tax cuts. Joe Biden on day one is going to add taxes, to which they had to again say for those making $400,000
plus. Yes.
They want to bury our economy under a $2 trillion deal. 2021 is going to be, this is another like Trump statement. 2021 is going to be the biggest economic boost in history. Huh?
I don't know. I don't see it. The whole thing, and I always remember my grandma saying that it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter, it just doesn't. It's your health. And that's where we're at. It's the health of this nation. It's the health of the United States. We got to get a hold on it. Money, you can't throw any money at people. You need to lock us down again and really make people stay in their homes. I'm sorry. I know business doesn't want to hear this, but we got to wear the mask. We got to do due diligence to get this COVID out of here. Once we have our health back, then you're stronger.
Yes, they pushed so hard to open back up because politically that's what they wanted. They thought it looked better for them. And what happened? The numbers rose, the deaths rose. that is what happened. Things opened too soon. People could be in New York and be in lockdown and then travel down to Florida, and it was wide open, and there weren't mask mandates. So we were not on the same page. You had Georgia governor acting a fool. You had, I have so many friends that live in Georgia, and they were in lockdown for zero time compared to what we were. I mean, they were a little bit, but
you can't throw it at the states. You can't just throw it at the states. Every state has their own idea on it. You have to do it federally. You just have to, because no one's listening.
Yeah, it's true.
No one's listening to this.
Pence said Obamacare was a disaster, and Trump and I will keep America growing. And then Kamala made sure to say, I thought this was good when she said, she compared the recession compared to the Great Depression and Trump trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will hurt pre-existing conditions. They're coming for you. They're coming for you.
I loved when she said that. That was so good. It was very strong.
Kind of spoke to the people. And in her regard, she was like, they're coming for you in your pre-existing conditions. But somehow Pence says Obamacare was a disaster and we will keep America growing. But he had no plan that he said how they were going to protect Americans with pre-existing conditions. Climate change, again, we talked about that earlier. And that, Harris says she believes in science, and Pence says, he believes the climate is changing, but wouldn't say climate change. I would have said, say climate change. They talked about China, the relationship with China. Pence says, first, let me speak of voting records. He goes back instead of addressing the question. He wanted to talk about voting records to a previous question, and Harris put radical environmental agenda. He said ahead of auto workers, she's more liberal than Bernie Sanders, which is not true at all. Kamala Harris is not more liberal or not more progressive than Bernie Sanders at all. China is to blame for the coronavirus. China and the WHO did not play straight with the U.S. And they will hold China accountable. So everyone else gets held accountable except for Donald Trump.
Well, that's been the mantra.
And Harris said Trump administration costs American lives, American jobs, etc. Trump obsessed with getting rid of everything from the Obama legacy. And he is. Trump has a weird obsession with Barack Obama. He always had ever since the birther movement.
Yes.
It's strange to me. He's gotten rid of, the pandemic little committee thing that he had. And even Obama's pandemic committee wasn't big enough or strong enough for what we're looking at. But Trump even dismantled that little bit that Obama had set up, which still wasn't enough because there's lots of disease specialists who have said that wasn't even enough what Obama had said. But Trump completely dismantled it. And Harris went on to say Trump embraced dictators around places like Russia. Trump takes word of Putin over U.S. intelligence agency, which is not a good look. And then Pence said he disagreed. We stood strong with our allies, but we've been demanding strengthened allies in Eastern Asia. They talked about the woman who they believe would have been alive today. Her parents had said if Trump was president, the strike on Soleimani, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the counterstrike, which caused serious head injuries. They talked about Trump. They talked about Trump disrespecting the military, like John McCain, which we talked a little bit about. And Trump talked to Putin. So Russians had bounties, Harris was talking about, on the heads of American soldiers. And Trump talked to Putin and never brought it up. He talked multiple times to Putin and never brought up the bounties on American heads. And then Pence was like, I have to respond again, even though it wasn't his time to respond. And the moderators, you've had more times. This is what she said. She goes, you've had more times than her already. So Pence continually breaking the rules. You agreed to these rules, she said.
Yes.
So Susan, the moderator, she said, I'm here to enforce them. She gets firm, which I thought, finally, Susan, you get firm. Then we go to our Supreme Court, Nana, with Amy Comey Barrett. Her confirmation would cement conservative possibly ban abortions, like Roe v. Wade overturned. And they asked about that. And Pence said he hopes they don't attack her Christian faith, but didn't answer the question.
Did not answer the question. And kind of threw it out there like she was the only one of faith.
Exactly. And
That's
Kamala
how I
then came
felt.
back and said, well, Joe Biden technically would be only the second next to JFK, I believe, Catholic president, correct, if he was elected.
Yep. Yes.
And everyone has their own,
Thoughts
thing.
on it. It is,
But you have to have this separation, though. This is the thing where things get blurry. And I saw him talking about a separation. I'm like, Mike Pence is not the guy to separate church from state. I mean, we have to understand that in this country, you do have a freedom to choose, what you want to, believe in and stuff like that. But we can't have these people who have certain beliefs toward a certain religion be dictating our government and our law. It's just it gets really messy and not at all what our forefathers intended for this country, because so much of that in religion is open to interpretation if you look at all the different types of religion. So it just gets really, really messy. So they brought up the Roe v. Wade and to Harris and what she would do in California if it was overturned. And she took this as time to say, Joe and I both are into our faith. We are 27 days before who will be the next president. We're in an election. Over 4 million people have already voted. Fill a seat in the White House rather than the Supreme Court. That's what we should be focusing on. And I do agree with that. She said straight up that she is for a woman's choice of what to do with her own body. She brings up the Affordable Care Act and no more protections for people with existing conditions again, and that Joe Biden wants to lower Medicare eligibility to 60. So, did you like hearing that, Nana?
I did. I did like hearing that because our health, as we get older, we need more, usually, doctors and things. And we've lived a long time, so we are going to have pre-existing conditions.
Well, it's crazy.
Whether it be breast cancer, whether it be, whatever, diabetes.
Yeast infection could have been a pre-existing condition. It was on some list of a yeast infection.
Oh, enough about those size 12 jeans I tried to fit into. Anyway.
That's crazy. It's crazy what some of the pre-existing conditions are on there. So
I really did like watching this. I really did. The people that have these strong opinions, and then you ask them, are you going to watch the debate tonight? Oh, no, I don't ever watch that stuff. What are you basing it on? What are you basing your votes on? Do a little searching out. We have the internet, for gosh sakes. Not that everything's true on the internet. We have newspapers. Do some reading. Do some investigation of your own. What do you want for this country? Well, that's what this is about.
The main issues that are important to you, vote on those. What affects you the most, vote on those. And there's so many alternative. If people, don't want to get from MSNBC or CNN or Fox News, there's so many alternative news sources. Now there's so many podcasts. There's really smart individuals out there. I highly recommend, and I know some people hate me for this, but The Hill, The Rising, Crystal Ball, and Sager, they are on two different sides of the spectrum. He's conservative. She's progressive, but they talk about the populace, and they're able to break down issues and still be very knowledgeable and support it with facts and knowledge and things like that. Despite them being on different ends of it, their ultimate goal is to get politics back in the hands of the people and get these politicians to be back representing what the people truly want, what the populace wants. So I really enjoy them. If you want to search them on YouTube, feel free. Some people don't like Crystal Ball. That's her name. Some people don't like Sager. That's fine. I like them. I think they're great.
And that's the joy of America. You can think how you want to think.
So there's just a couple more issues, Nana,
for who you want to vote for.
Exactly. And if we quit yelling at each other and saying you're a dumbass or you're this or you're that, and kind of, I don't know, hear each other out. I just feel like they've divided us so much. And we talked about this last time, Nana, but I feel like these two parties have decided that they are like NFL teams, and they're like, oh, I'm Team Seahawks, no, I'm Team Packers, or let's say Packers versus Vikings because they got a border battle, So you will live or die. You have to be critical of even your own party. I am so hypercritical of the Democrats, and you will hear me in this live be critical, and then Nana looks at me like, Joleen, but you have to hold them. You can't.
Okay, all right. They're not perfect. We're not going to find perfect human beings. They don't exist.
I know, but I'm saying going forward and things like that, I think it is important to recognize the faults in both parties.
Oh, most definitely.
Rather than just going, well, my team, my guy, because I see Dad on Facebook and he's, debating his friends, and he's a liberal and his friends are all very, very Trumper. And they...
Not all, but some.
No, not all, but a lot of the people that reply to his stuff, because my dad will post a lot of stuff about, Biden, Harris, and things. And my dad posts a lot of anti-Trump stuff. And it's almost like they're on a team. They're like, well, our guy, it's like, that's scary because that's this cultish mentality. You should always question your leadership. Even if you like the guy, even Obama. I got qualms about Obama. I got qualms about everybody. I had qualms about Hillary. Do you know what I mean? I got qualms about Bernie Sanders. There is no one I like 100%. There are people, they are our officials. They work for us. They need to get better and better and better. We cannot let them get comfy. We cannot let them believe that they are like our queen or our king. They are not a monarchy. We don't have to bow down to them at all. They work for us, the people. So the more they divide us with this team bullshit, the more it just doesn't
feel right. You're right.
Doesn't feel right. Just like question all sides. It's okay. Ultimately, we do know we live in a country right now where there are just these two main parties. I mean, you can vote other party if you want to, but I'm just saying, like, those are the two that usually get elected into office. But going forward, I would like to see that change. Now, they did talk about racial justice, Nana. And last time we had Trump make the statement about the Proud Boys and not denounce white supremacy, even though Trump later said he did.
Well, I missed it then because he did not.
Yeah, I don't know. So they were talking about Breonna Taylor and her murder. And Breonna Taylor, in my opinion, did not get justice. So they asked, was justice done? And Harris said no. That she talked to the family. They wanted she gave a little background of Breonna wanted to be an EMT so that she could become a nurse. And then she brought up George Floyd and brought up the people who marched for equal justice under the law. So people were marching for equal justice under the law for everyone. That's essentially what people are marching for. And they marched peacefully. And that we must fight for the values we hold dear, which I think is important. Yes, these peaceful protests and protesting like that is what we do as Americans. So we should not be shamed out of that. She said we need to reform of policing, which we heard Joe Biden say straight up, he's not for defunding the police, which I think the problem with defunding the police is what it's named. Because you're not defunding it. You're moving things around, reallocating.
You're not reallocating is good. You're not taking the money out of the police force. You're not cutting police.
No, you're not saying we don't need police because whoever came up with the defund obviously did not. Why can't they switch it? Why do we still say defund? Because they're not doing that. They're reallocating the same way our tax dollars go to this like general military fund doesn't break down. We should see where exactly our money's going. You need to show us because we don't know where it's going. So in that regard, you'll see people go, oh, you just don't want law and order because they go to one total, the next extreme.
The huge extreme saying, oh, we need our cops. We need more cops. They're not saying we don't.
Yes.
Defunding, it's a horrible word. Word to use.
It's reallocating funds. It's all kinds of things and putting them into other things. It's just crazy. It's a horrible, like you said, horrible word to use. So she talked about that, but Joe Biden is someone who, again, he's not progressive, you guys. So anyone moderate or on the fence, I mean, he's your guy. Thank you, man, husband.
Chell gave $4.99. We love you, Chell. Thanks, Chelly.
And then so she said we need to reform of policing. We will ban chokehold, certain holds and chokeholds, and we will get rid of cash bail and decriminalize marijuana. I like that. Pence says, he goes into, if they said, was justice given for Breonna Taylor? He says, my heart breaks for any innocent American life. Okay, that's dodging. He says, but I trust our justice system. Huh. And then George Floyd, but he said there was no excuse for George Floyd for what happened, but no reason for rioting or looting. Why even bring up the
Why
riot?
are you bringing that to the
When
forefront?
people are losing their life, you're comparing someone being murdered live while being watched for 8 minutes plus.
Yes.
Someone being murdered by the people we pay to protect and serve our area that we're living in our communities. Why would you compare that to someone's business burning down? Because guess what? That's why insurance exists, and that person still has a life, and they're still alive, and they can still see their kids, and George Floyd cannot. To compare those two is to dodge, and that just shows how much they don't get it, and they don't want to get it, because they refuse to admit that they are not treated equally under the law, and that Black Americans in this country are out here worried, just walking down the street, just with Breonna Taylor sleeping in your home, Nana. The police can get it so wrong, walk in, shoot up your apartment, kill you, and no charges. You cannot tell me that if this happened to a white lady named Kelly, that people wouldn't be in the streets and that justice wouldn't be had, because it would.
Absolutely.
It would. And that's
the idea of peaceful protest and looting. They just like to put them together. People like to put those two things together, and they are so separate. They are so separate. The peaceful protests, 100% agree with. The looting, can anyone say looting is a good idea? I can't.
I mean, there's
just one doesn't have to do with the other.
It doesn't have to do with the other. It does not. And they all want to do this lawlessness and all this. And if we talked about last time, Nana, you go back and you see there's a lot of agitators that show up and make peaceful protests and things look like something they're not. And there's a lot of people within these organizations that they're protesting against that go in there and know how to break an AutoZone window and start things and start fires and things like that. But the majority, 98% of this movement was about peaceful protesting and bringing attention to the fact that there are American citizens who are being treated differently within our justice system and by our police due to implicit bias, due to, prejudice, due to bigotry, due to maybe conscious or subconscious. And that has to be addressed. And our fear of not addressing it it's ridiculous. I mean, to me, it doesn't make any sense. These are Americans. We're supposed to be protecting our fellow Americans, and they cannot feel safe within the borders of their own country when they're just living their life. And they're treated very differently than their white counterparts. So it just doesn't make any sense. So he pretty much dodged that and talked about the looting and that Biden believes in systemic racism. Yeah. Yep. Pence thinks that's insulting. How does that insult you, Pence? I don't understand. How in your white Indiana world does that, why? And maybe you could look, at yourself and your situation and the privilege you hold that you don't have to worry about that and that your children don't have to worry about that.
That's right. And you're not having to talk to your children from little on what to be aware of.
It is devastating that Black Americans have to talk to their children and prepare them how to act situations with the police where I never had that.
No.
Sort of you have to train young little baby innocent kids. It just doesn't make any sense. So then Harris okay, so Pence talked about that. Harris, I'm the only one on the stage who was prosecuted. She kept saying that. I've prosecuted, don't try to say that. And talked about the Trump saying Charlottesville, and that's kind of why Biden wanted to run. I don't believe that's why Biden wanted to run. I think Biden always kind of had his next in line sort of thing, and this was going to be his time. I didn't buy that. Do you buy that? That he saw the Charlottesville, what happened, and then he thought, I'm going to run, because I don't know.
I don't know if I agree with that or believe that. It did sound good. I think he's just looking at what America is now under Trump and Pence, and I think he just stepped forward.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of people backing him saying, you got to run. This is the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They all kind of have their time. Because remember in 2008, Hillary was like, it's my time. And they were like, it's Obama's time. You can have it next time. And she was mad. She was big mad. Wasn't it Hillary? No, I don't know. Okay, never mind. I don't want to go off too far on a tangent. Okay. So Pence talked about Kamala's record, which has always been a point of contention, and that she increased her incarceration of Black Americans while she was a prosecutor, and he attacked it. And that's something that Democrats did as well when she was running to be the candidate. And that's why I think a lot of people aren't huge Harris fans, because they feel like she wasn't necessarily the best representative with her previous career. So, and how she, the incarceration rate and things like that. And then Harris said that as the Attorney General of the state of California, she again will institute a ban on chokeholds and carotid holds. I don't know what that is. I was first statewide. She was the first statewide implicit a bias training in cops wearing cameras. So that was interesting. Instituted reforms of reentry. And she said, I will not be judged by Pence. And then she talked about the people that flipped, like 7 members of George W. Bush's cabinet who now support Biden. We talked about that. And then the final student question from Brecklin, the 8th grader. Nan, did you like that?
Isn't this sad? This is when
you were washing the floor.
I was, and I missed that very end piece, but I did tape it. So, because Dad fell asleep early tonight, he says, "Can you tape this for me so I can see it?" I said, "Sure."
Yeah. Well, Brecklin, an 8th grader in Utah, said, if our leaders can't get along, how can our citizens? Basically, when she turns on the television, all she sees is people fighting each other and stuff. And so her question for them was, if you guys can't get along and you can't make it work and stuff, like, how can you expect our citizens? And I do think that a lot of that is something that they create this tension too, and they encourage it. And we've seen Trump encourage it. And we saw again a little bit of possible voter suppression and things like that encouraged through Pence talking about voter mail-in.
Yes.
And just like the same way Trump was talking about people go and watch the polls and make sure that encouraging people to try to get in
to strong arm. I know. It's like, stop it. Call off your dogs. Everybody vote. Not more than once. One time.
Well, someone said, hype man husband, Chell, spitting facts. Chell said Trump refused housing for African-American tenants and said the Central Park 5 are guilty after they were acquitted. So yeah, the Central Park 5, who they just did a documentary about them, Nana, and Trump took out at the time, like it's on Netflix. It's devastating, the documentary. It's very well done. Trump took out page ads in newspapers in New York to get these young boys sentenced and basically of their guilt, and used his money toward that, only to us to find out there were so many holes within the case and that they ended up being acquitted, but they served a lot of time in jail, and it destroyed their lives, and they were abused, and it was horrible. But Trump took it upon himself to be instead of going through the judicial process we have of, everyone's innocent until proven guilty, he took it upon himself to use his money and influence to say these boys were guilty and to ruin their lives. And it definitely impacted it because people saw these ads in the newspapers that he took out. And on TV, he would speak to them, and he had no knowledge other than what he saw on the news, which isn't a verdict of guilty. They hadn't even been tried, you know? Well, what's Chell saying? Chell's killing it in the comments now. It says, different from the crime bill, calls for tough sentencing and police protection were paired with calls for full employment, quality education, and drug treatment, and criticism of police brutality. You guys are just having full on, I love it, little conversations in the chat here, Nana. Yes, the documentary is called When They See Us. It's on Netflix. It's
When They See Us. Okay.
Heartbreaking to watch, but I definitely recommend that people watch it. Hype My Husband Chell is supporting, or he's putting out there links for you to check out the Biden crime bill, An American Short Memory. Yes, the Kemi saying everyone needs to watch When They See It. It's a limited series, though, not a documentary. I apologize. Limited series. It is done by Ava. What's her last name? I'm so sorry. I need to look this up because she's phenomenal and she's doing so many wonderful things. She is the director. I follow her. When They See Us. Okay, Ava DuVernay. So yes, she's made so many wonderful things, and so definitely check that out, you guys, if you haven't already. Chelsea, in the 90s, people were begging for a crime bill. It was bad. Even top African American leaders wanted to pass the crime bill. I think this is people are calling into question Joe Biden's past, which a lot of people have, with the crime bill and with different things with segregation and stuff. These are things he'll have to and has had to answer for during this election. This just comes down to, do you believe people can change and progress from how they were previously? If he says that he no longer that was a while ago, whatever year with the segregation legislation, the crime bill in the 90s, do you believe that, or do you believe that you're always that way? And this is then you're just looking at two racists in the election, if that's the case. So you can't even go to Trump and be like, well, at least he's not racist, because there you go. It's either you believe Joe Biden when he says these, I think he has said that was, now looking back, not good legislation necessarily, especially like the segregation stuff. But yeah, I mean, like Shawanda says, I've changed since 93. I mean, I don't know.
Absolutely. Shawanda, so have I. Many times over. Seems like eons ago, doesn't it? Yes, and it was.
Yeah, so it's let's see. BKmessiah says, I believe Biden is way less racist than Trump. I think, unfortunately, this is the election again where it's like, who's more racist? We can't get a candidate who's just not racist, period. And we can't go, who's not that old? Because they're both old and they're both racist. You know what I mean? Like, it just stinks that we can't just get a candidate who's like, we be like, young, check, progressive, check, not racist, check, or whatever the Republicans would want, like, fiscally conservative, check, but not, super corrupt, in with big business, check. Going to actually give working class people bigger tax breaks than you do big corporations, check. So I don't know. It's just it's a crazy time, right, Nana?
It really is. We appreciate everybody joining us here tonight.
I kept Nana way longer. She was like, I want to do a half hour. It's an hour and a half.
I know.
You killed it.
No, you had a lot of wonderful points. I sat back and I listened. And I listened and learned. Every time I listened to you, I learned something new. I did like it. I think Kamala did a wonderful job.
Nana says, Kamala is, we got to teach you how to say her name. Kamala.
I always mess up her name.
It's Kamala.
Kamala.
You say Kamala. Well, first you said Camilla.
I know.
You're thinking of Camilla Parker Bowles.
Come on. Oh gosh, no.
Kamala. Let's start like a comma. La. Like comma in a sentence. La. Kamala.
Kamala.
Yes. Okay. Any last thoughts, Nana? I feel like I'm sorry I took those notes and I wanted us to hit on that stuff, but I know that takes a long time. And
you did really well on the notes. I should have just sat there and taken notes instead of washing the floor. No. But does anybody want to know how nice the floor looks? My feet won't stick to it when I'm making coffee tomorrow. It's going to be great. It's the little things in life, guys. It's the little things. So we really do appreciate you guys, joining us, having your own opinions, because that's what this country's about.
Yes. And like Claude said, the fly stole the show. The fly stole the show.
True story. True story. You can't make this stuff up. It's kind of like that. What was that movie with Chevy Chase? Cue the deer, cue the fly. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many weird situations, like when people are on stage. Now I saw the coronavirus. They had the Cardi B, which was like coronavirus, and they had Trump. Remember when someone was going to rush the stage and he was like this, and sometimes they'll make little like GIFs and stuff and memes where it's him against like one of his running mates and going like this, but they had Cardi B going coronavirus and Trump was like this. And then remember when they had the bird that landed on Bernie's podium when he was talking? There's like a bird that like landed on.
I'm trying to remember that. Oh my God. No, I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
We're not going to forget The Fly though. It was a great show. Help me. The Fly. It was a great show. Anyway. Thank you everyone for joining us. We appreciate it. Joleen and I will be on again on Friday, and we will be just talking.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about Bravo, right? Bravo TV.
Yes, most definitely.
We like to talk about all things, including the importance of voting in our political system and getting the representatives we deserve one day.
That's
maybe.
Right.
Yes,
that's right.
For sure.
Someday,
Bill said the fly was sent by Hillary Clinton and the commies. Oh, Nana, you're delightful. I hope you had fun. I feel like I kept you a really long time, and I apologize. I know it's really late where you are, but
there's nothing to apologize for, honey.
Okay.
I'm retired. I can sleep in.
Yay! Do you wanna put your mask on
Oh, I really appreciate that. I did just buy it today, and I really liked it.
Yep, like Kemi said, the election's happening now. November 3rd is when it ends. So vote. Yeah, don't wait to mail in your ballots. Don't wait. Just
do it now.
Do it now. Get it out of the way. They had a celebrity push and they're all naked. Did you see that, Nana? Where there's like Chris Rock's in it, Sarah Silverman's holding her boobs, Chelsea Handler's in it, a bunch of people, because it depends on the state, but there's like one state, maybe it's Pennsylvania, where you have to make sure you put your ballot in this envelope into another envelope. And if it's not in both envelopes, it's considered a naked ballot and it doesn't count.
I read everything and I said, here, now do this. And here, Paul, okay, now do your voting. Okay. Put this envelope in that envelope. I didn't realize that they would just throw it out if it was done incorrectly.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it's good that they're saying that. But of course, it's like Hollywood. They always screw it up. And to where, when they let's all sing a song because everyone's out of work and our privileged asses have all this money. So we're going to sing Let It Be. And now they're like naked. And I get what they're trying to do, but it always just comes off a little
I know. And Terry's asking, Terry GSF, Nana, where did you get that? I bought it. I don't know where you're listening from, Terry, but I bought this in St. Paul at the DFL headquarters today.
Yay!
So if it is, if you are Minnesota, it's on Plato Avenue.
Okay, that's what she got it. And Anne says, I love Nana, aka Emily Valentine.
I love Emily Valentine. Oh my God, I can't wait to get my roots done and stuff and get the more Emily Valentine look. Morris, I'm with you now, honey. Spider-Man and Biden Man. Okay.
Spider-Man and butt plugs. No, Bravo and butt plugs on Friday. And today was Harris and Pence. So there you go. But yeah, you could probably get those masks, I think, like Monica's saying, on Amazon maybe too. I don't know.
Maybe. It just looks like I think it's my ears.
No, you know what it is? You're looking, whenever I try to like adjust my hair and stuff in the camera, I always will grab the wrong side. Like my spatial relations are off because you're looking at something that's turned, the camera's turned toward you.
Fonda says, got any more, Nana, of these, honey? No, I don't. I bought one for myself and one for Paul.
Oh, well, yeah, well, maybe we'll give some away in our line. Are they expensive?
Yes.
Okay, then maybe we won't.
They're $10 a piece, kids.
Okay.
So
Zachary,
on people that don't make 400,000, yes, it's $10. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Zachary's saying, okay.
Yeah, disagree. Yeah, I mean, we can agree to disagree. It's okay, guys. That's like, as long as we don't all turn on each other, because I think that's the problem. There's certain things that will break up a friendship. Like if you're a racist or a bigot or homophobic or, things like that, I don't want to deal with you. But if you just over certain like little policy things, and I don't know.
Everyone has a right to be heard. That's it.
Yeah, we can agree to disagree, but still respect each other, like Anne is saying. So yeah, there you go. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. And I was going to talk about the fact that Mike Pence's wife is named Karen, and that just seems really fitting. And I think someone in the chat brought it up earlier. And yeah, and thank you, my husband Shell, for being
in the
comments. And I see we had the timeout. Maybe someone was getting a little angry. There was some F-bombs being dropped, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a shame.
So,
well, you know what? Live it, Louis.
Life, live it. Nana, you got one more goodbye thing, since I ruined it by bringing up the Pence Karen thing.
Oh, no, that's fine. I just, go in peace. How's that?
Yay, go in peace. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thanks
guys.
for joining.